The summer sea air drifting over Blackwater Bay still tasted of ash and pitch when King Robert Baratheon found the courage to climb the highest battlement of Maegor's Holdfast and gaze eastward. In the pale dawn light the bay appeared peaceful. Fishing cogs tugged at gentle tides. Gulls wheeled above the crimson-tiled roofs of the city. But the king's memory painted every ripple and every shadow with ghost fires from the sack 5 years past. He could almost hear the shrieks that had once spilled from the dragon pit as starving beasts burned in their chains. A stag crowned in remorse, Robert thought sourly. The price of rebellion had never left his tongue, no matter how much Dornish red he swallowed. Footsteps approached. Jon Arryn's pace was unmistakable, deliberate, measured, as though the Lord of the Vale feared each stone might crumble under undue haste. Robert cleared his throat and tried to brace himself with a grin, but it felt thin and brittle. "My king," Arryn murmured, folding his hands behind his back. "You did not break your fast." "Ale is breakfast enough," Robert replied. But the joke landed flat. He massaged the knot of old pain in his thigh where a Dothraki Arak had once bitten deep during the Trident's frenzy. "You've that look again, Jon. Out with it before the sun drags any higher." Arryn's gray eyes flicked across the bay. "If your grace means to heal the realm, the salve must reach the wound's core. The silver babe still lives." Robert's reply was a grunt. He knew precisely whom Jon Arryn spoke of. Viserys Targaryen, last dragon prince. A boy of 10 winters smuggled across the narrow sea. A boy Robert had once sworn to cut down without mercy. "Your last letter from Braavos suggested the boy's sellsword guardians grow restless," the king said. "Gold always runs thinner than loyalty. And you have more gold than any rogue in Essos," Arryn answered. "More to the point, you have a crown to bestow. Bend the silver dragon, and the 7 kingdoms may at last cease smoldering." Robert closed his eyes. He remembered the look of Ned Stark's face when they'd stood over the tiny bodies of Rhaenys and Aegon in the wreck of the Red Keep. Ned had not spoken a word, but his silence flayed Robert worse than any spear. It was not Robert's dagger that had butchered those children. Yet the realm forever coupled his name with their slaughter. The stain reached even into his dreams. "Viserys is the last branch of a burnt tree," Robert muttered. "Why offer him an axe to my own trunk?" "Because the lords still whisper in smoky halls," Arryn said softly. "Mace Tyrell mends fences with the faith. Tywin counts every cudgel he lent the rebellion. Stannis notes each slight. Your grace, the realm yearns for a breath of unity. Make Viserys your heir. A joined sigil, stag and dragon, could keep every ambitious sword in its scabbard." "Bah!" Robert barked a short laugh, less mirth than ache. Cersei would sooner choke herself on lion claws. Stannis would froth like a boar denied his rooting patch. "Cersei has given you no heir yet," Arryn reminded him, tactful as a nurse smoothing bedsheets. "Claiming the Dragon Prince as your successor harms her pride, perhaps, but it leaves her still queen. And Stannis, loyalty compels him. He will stand with you, though he glowers enough to sour milk." Robert leaned upon the crenellation. Far below, the city gates yawned open for morning carts. And what of the boy himself? "My informers paint him proud. Quick-tempered, a stripling convinced the world robbed him of birthright." "That is why you must remake his birthright," Arryn said. "Offer him a place he cannot refuse, and tutelage he cannot escape. Let Barristan Selmy forge him into a knight of the Kingsguard. Let maesters drown him in histories. Let the small council keep watch until his silver hair blends with yours in memory. In a decade no one will recall he ever bore a different crown." Robert's silence stretched. A gull screeched and landed on the parapet, tilting its head as though waiting to weigh the king's verdict. At last Robert spoke, voice low. "Send the raven to Braavos. Offer safe conduct to Dragonstone under royal banner. Tell Viserys I bid him stand before me at court. I will name him Prince of Summerhall, heir to the 7 kingdoms." He exhaled. "And gods forgive me if I plant another dragon egg in this damned realm." The raven flew swift on salt-stiff wings, and rumors traveled quicker still. By the time Viserys Targaryen's narrow-keeled escort ship sliced through the mouth of Blackwater Bay, King's Landing buzzed like a hive kicked by an unruly child. Gold cloaks doubled patrols to quell street scuffles between small folk who cursed dragons and others who cursed usurpers. In taverns south of the Street of Silk, bards fought duels of ballad, some praising Robert's mercy, others predicting a second dance of dragons. The city had known peace, but it was the edgy piece of a sword balanced on two fingertips. Cersei Lannister watched the foreign vessel dock from a window in the Queen's apartments, her reflection overlaying the sail's purple-stitched dragon sigils. For an instant, the sight threw her back to girlhood, to stories of Rhaegar's silver hair glimmering on tourney fields, a hair color once whispered of in her mother's solar as regal, tragic, beautiful. Now, silver threatened her son's future. Or, more wounding still, her own. She felt, rather than heard, Jaime step behind her. "He's 10, her twin murmured. Hardly a rival to a full-grown Baratheon prince. His tone tried for nonchalance, but a Kingsguard's white cloak did not mute a Lannister heartbeat. "If I had given Robert a son, this day would not matter," Cersei said. Her hand brushed the flat plane of her belly, resentful. "What gift does some Targaryen whelp possess that I lack?" "An accident of birth," Jaime replied. "The same you and I once shared, though people call ours a sin. Let Robert keep his pet dragon if it eases the realm." Cersei's green eyes narrowed. "We must keep watch, my love. Dragons grow." And Viserys Targaryen stepped onto the quay with shoulders squared, violet gaze smoldering beneath a fringe of pale hair tannin-kissed by sea spray. He wore black silk trimmed with crimson, colors that had not fluttered openly on this shore since his grandfather's rule. Yet upon his breast glittered a hammered silver brooch newly fashioned, a crowned stag entwined with a three-headed dragon. The sigil's artistry could not hide its unnatural union, like vines grafted under duress. Lord Renly Baratheon, bright-smiled and fashionably cloaked in summer green, bowed low. "Your Highness," he intoned, voice all warm cordiality. "King Robert bids you welcome to King's Landing, and I, his humble brother, add my own joy to meet a prince of such storied lineage." Viserys evaluated the young lord. A man little older than himself, but comfortable as a cat sunning on a wall. "Your brother is magnanimous," Viserys said carefully, his common tongue polished by Pentoshi tutors, though lilted by Associ vowels. "I trust I shall repay his faith. Come." Renly gestured to the gilded wheelhouse waiting atop the quay. "The king holds audience in the Red Keep. He has arranged a feast, and Maester Pycelle insists King's Landing grapes sweeten the blood." "Then?" Viserys pressed a fist to his brooch, half salute, half seatbelt about his pride. 5 years as a beggar prince in the free cities had woken him each dawn with hunger's rasp. Today, hunger bowed before him. The throne room had been scrubbed of soot and shadow since Robert's coronation, yet echoes lingered. When Viserys approached the iron dais, he recognized 1,000 twisted blade points, each a silent judgment. Robert Baratheon sat broad-shouldered, draped in a mantle of midnight blue and gold. At his side stood Lord Jon Arryn and Lord Eddard Stark, the only men in the chamber who looked neither wary nor scornful. Viserys knelt, though the motion stung his pride. "Grace of the Seven, I present myself." Robert's booming voice filled the hall. "Rise, Viserys, last scion of the house I did once overthrow, and by my word, first scion of the house that shall heal the wound I dealt." His eyes, storm blue, ringed with regrets he seldom spoke, searched the boy's face. "Will you accept the name Prince of Summerhall? Will you swear to serve the realm I cracked?" A moment's hush rippled between them, and courtiers leaned in as though smell alone could catch treachery. Viserys straightened. "I will accept that name, your grace, and bind my fate to yours." Robert nodded. "Then rise beside me. Let this court witness our accord." His meaty hand clamped Viserys' shoulder, drawing him up the steps. A roar rose through the hall. Applause, relief, muttered curses, jealous growls, until the great bronze doors shook with it. Thus the joint crown found its brittle first setting. Knights in the Red Keep blurred into pageantry. The small council drafted letters to every Lord Paramount, and ravens fanned out like black petals on the breeze. Proclamations that Robert Baratheon, first of his name, named Viserys Targaryen lawful heir henceforth. A new mint began striking stags with dragon wings for 50 stag coins. Septons composed sermons praising Mercia's kingly valor, though some fire and blood zealots in Old Town spat upon the very parchment containing their orders. At feast tables, Viserys listened more than he spoke. He studied Renly's easy swagger with knights, Stannis' cold assessment of ship tallies, Cersei's dangerous smile glittering between goblets. He learned the Tyrell colors from the Tyroshi dies, grasped that every jest in the throne room carried at a spear point in shadows. Across those same tables, Robert would boast of boar hunts and tavern brawls, then fall into abrupt silence when a singer's high note slipped too near memory of Rhaegar. The king drank deep, yet never once raged at Viserys' presence. That puzzle haunted the boy like a riddle whose answer might free or damn him. On the 10th night, a royal armorer presented the prince with a practice blade of castle-forged steel. Barristan Selmy himself oversaw the gift. "All princes learn the sword," the old knight said, his white cloak trailing immaculate. "Your training begins at dawn's first light." Viserys bowed, though sweat beaded his palms. He had fenced clumsily with sticks on Myrish beaches, but steel weighed dreams and nightmares both. Dawn proved merciless. The practice yard within Maegor's holdfast rang to the clash of metal and barked commands. Barristan instructed stance, grip, and footwork, correcting Viserys with tap-taps of his own dulled blade. "Strength is useless without balance," the knight chided. "Even dragons must stand upon the earth before they take flight." Near midday, a hush rippled through watching squires. Prince Joffrey, golden-haired and 4 years Viserys Jr., strutted to the rail, flanked by hound and squire. Joffrey's glare burned brighter than noon's sun. It was the look of a child who discovers his favorite toy has been granted to a new heir. Viserys forced calm. He saluted Barristan, then saluted Joffrey with equal gravity. The boy snarled and spun away. The seed of rivalry sprouted. Elsewhere in the castle, other seeds trembled. In the Tower of the Hand, Eddard Stark penned letters to his lady wife at Winterfell, lines etched in thoughtful ink. "Here stands the last dragon, but his claws are small. I see no madness in the boy, only loneliness grafted upon pride. If Robert can shape him, perhaps we may yet escape another river of blood." Littlefinger read every crease in Ned's brow like a cracked vault he meant someday to open. Varys fluttered through corridors with soft-soled slippers, smiling at every servant but counting their whispers like coins. Grand Maester Pycelle weighed concoctions to soothe Robert's lingering wounds and Viserys' nerves alike, though rumor insisted he served Tywin's letters quicker than the crown's. By moonlight, Renly hosted salons where bright young knights debated whether a joint stag-dragon crown ought to bear antlers or wings first upon its coinage. Loras Tyrell, barely squired, espoused wings for elegance. Brienne of Tarth, visiting on her Lord Father's petition, opined that antlers forged in Valyrian steel would prove unbreakable. Amid laughter, nobody noticed how Stannis took his wine alone these nights, poring over ledgers of grain tithes and naval repairs. Numbers did not lie as men did. Winter ravens forecast a mild season, yet unease coiled like smoke in a long cold flue. On the anniversary of Rhaegar's death, Robert ordered a great tourney outside King's Landing to celebrate renewed unity. The lists filled with knights from every corner, Rurdwine smelling of arbor gold, Tarlis hungry for honor, Lannister cousins glimmering like gilded hornets. Banners whipped in the wind. Lions, roses, krakens, falcons, trout, foxes, suns, and spears. But at the field center rose a towering pole bearing the new joined standard, stag rampant before a three-headed dragon argent on night blue. Viserys watched the melee's first day from a velvet-draped dais beside the king. When Sir Jaime tilted against Barristan, the clangor seemed to echo another battle long past. Robert's meaty fist tightened round a goblet. The king whispered, "He's good, that Kingslayer. You see how he leans from the left to bait an overhand sweep? Gods, I might have faced him at the Trident if Tywin had shown his true colors sooner." Viserys found himself replying, "And had my brother better armor that day, Perhaps he would still sing. The words slipped free before caution, but Robert did not bristle. Instead, a rueful grin cracked the king's beard. "He sang well enough," Robert said, voice mellow with memory. "Better than I deserve to hear." He slapped Viserys' shoulder. "One day you'll ride with that grace." "Not yet. But one day." And in that instant, the Hall of Whispers quieted inside the prince's skull. Whatever else Robert Baratheon was, usurper, butcher, conqueror, he had offered a dragon praise without begrudge. That night the feasting pavilion blazed with torches. Cersei presided in cloth of gold, but her smile sat brittle. Musicians played. The queen took a dragon prince, a newly penned ballad lauding mercy, and each verse seemed another needle stitched into her pride. Across the trestle tables, Varys painted fingernails drummed in measured rhythm. Littlefinger murmured jokes into Margaery Tyrell's ears solely to watch her brother's cheek flush protective scarlet. When the last course, spiced duck glazed with lemon, cleared away, Baratheon retainers rolled in a wheeled dais, bearing a massive iron circlet. Its points were antler tines, but forged to ripple like flame, each tip shaped as a tiny dragon head. "The dragon crown," Jon Arryn proclaimed, "a symbol of the pact between old blood and new." Robert bid Viserys stand and placed the circlet on the prince's brow. It sat heavy, both in weight and in omen. Wine splashed over whispers. Some toasted, some grimaced. In a far corner, Stannis shifted like a man enduring salt in an open wound. Cersei's gaze fixed upon the iron crown as though she expected it to sprout fangs and strangle its wearer. Weeks after the tourney, storms lashed Blackwater Bay Dye. Lightning forked behind the Red Keep, unsettling every hearth. Viserys lay in a palatial chamber once reserved for Targaryen queens. Rain thudded against the shutters like impatient fists. Sleep came fitful, haunted by dragons screaming beneath falling roofs. He rose, wrapped a cloak round thin shoulders, and padded through torchlit corridors until he found the royal solar. Robert sat alone at a massive oaken table, maps spread like patchwork, candles guttered low. A jug of wine stood untouched, a rare omen. The king glanced up, surprise flickering to warmth. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Dreams," Viserys answered, hesitating at the threshold. "Dreams plague us both," Robert said. He gestured to a chair. "Come. Perhaps the storm will take pity and drown our ghosts." Viserys sat, studying the parchment before him. It depicted Dragonstone and Storm's End, with shipping lanes annotated. Beside it lay a list of names, captains, grain counts, debts. "This is not a warrior's parchment," the prince said. Robert's beard twitched. "A king who thinks only of war soon has neither men nor coin left to wage it. Your grandsire forgot that." He tapped the ledgers. "I will not forget. And you, my silver prince, must learn early." Viserys' heartbeat quickened. "You truly mean me to rule after you?" Robert sighed. "Ay. I grow too fond of feasts and hunts. If I perish gored by some boar, the realm must not bleed anew." He studied Viserys, voice softening. "I once hated every drop of dragon blood, but hate spoils if left to rot in the soul. I have sons yet to come. God's willing, but fathers pass." "God's willing, but fathers pass." "Kingdoms endure only when—" His hand fell on the prince's shoulder. "Will you honor what we build?" Viserys swallowed past a nod of awe and fear. "I will." "Good." Robert smiled, and the thunder outside seemed to retreat. "Then we shall weather this storm, you and I." As the months unfurled, the realm watched for cracks. They found many. In Lannisport, rumors whispered that Queen Cersei brewed a herbal tonic to speed conception, as though racing the dragon prince for favor. In the Reach, Mace Tyrell entertained envoys from Dorne, testing whether Martell daggers still thirsted for Rhaegar's vengeance or wished the realm to mend. At Dragonstone, Daenerys Targaryen barely ate, played among salt-crusted battlements, while Septa Mordain read letters praising her brother's rise. One such missive contained a folded sheet of heavy parchment, unmarked save for a wax seal of a lion's head. A riddle promising protection across the sea should the stag's mercy crumble. Meanwhile, Stannis Baratheon, Lord of Dragonstone no more, took seat at Storm's End and drilled levies with grim efficiency. He wrote warnings to Jon Arryn regarding Lannister loans funding the crown's half-empty coffers. Jon Arryn replied with reasoned assurances that new tariffs on Myrish lace and spice would shore the deficit. Yet every letter sank into Stannis' ledger like a stone in stagnant water. Within King's Landing, gold cloaks discovered 9 sparrows nailed to the sept of Baelor's doors. Each bird flayed, its innards stuffed with ash. No sigil marked the crime, but the message was clear to any student of dragon lore. Blood and fire, unstated, but very much alive. The High Septon demanded inquiry. Littlefinger quietly paid 3 street urchins to confess in exchange for a hot meal, closing the matter with convenient haste. Through every intrigue, Viserys walked a narrow line. He attended small council sessions, absorbing Pycelle's droning verses on harvest yields, hearing Varys' couch intelligence behind riddles, watching Littlefinger's quill dance across ledgers until numbers yielded more coin than they ought. At times Robert grasped the boy's shoulder mid-council and barked, "What say you, Prince? Should we tax sailcloth or salt cod? One fills bellies, the other fills coffers." Viserys learned to weigh words, to concede when wise, to stand firm when fairness outweighed favor. But at night, alone, he still dreamt of dragons. Velvet wings beat over smoky fields, golden crowns melted into liquid fire. Always he awoke before he learned whether dragon flame cleansed or consumed the land. Summer's tale shortly curled into autumn. The royal progress, long delayed, set forth. Robert insisted the realm see its new heir. They rode first to Storm's End. On wind-swept ramparts, where gales foamed the sea white, Stannis stood rigid as the stone from which his castle sprang. Formal courtesies passed, but the chill between brothers endured thicker than the wall of night air. When Viserys thanked Stannis for hosting, the lord's narrow eyes flickered. "See you that flag?" He pointed to a banner whipped against the keep's mast. "Baratheon black and gold, no dragon sown. Storm's End flies the stag alone. Loyalty, not love. Remember that distinction, your highness." Viserys bowed. Loyalty will suffice. Inwardly he marveled. Stannis Baratheon could carve pride into ice and blade alike. At Highgarden, however, pride blossomed in perfume and song. Lady Margaery, still on the cusp of womanhood, presented Viserys with a garland of blue winter roses. Her brother Loras sneaked the prince to hidden bowers where musicians practiced secret love ballads. The Tyrell patriarch spoke of grain and gold, of marrying dragons to roses so the realm's stomach never growled. Viserys danced through corridors fragrant with lemon verbena, but each step reminded him of thorns beneath petals. The reach embraced possibilities as vines embraced trellises, tightly. The royal party crossed into the Westerlands last, where Casterly Rock loomed like a crouched lion at sunset. Tywin Lannister greeted the king with flawless courtesy, yet his pale green eyes measured Robert's waistline and Viserys' posture with equal calculation. Banquets gleamed. Halls echoed with minstrels. Except the iron tang of ambition. One eve Tywin led Viserys through galleries lined with gemstones. "See how each stone is set," he lectured, voice flat. "Too loose, a ruby falls. Too tight, it shatters. A realm is the same. Pressure, placement, precision." Viserys nodded, wondering whether he was considered gemstone or fault line. When they departed Casterly Rock, Cersei did not join the farewell procession. Rumor claimed she wept in her solar. Another rumor, whispered only once before men clutched 9-pointed stars, insisted the queen now consumed moon tea as one might take daily bread. By the time the royal progress returned to King's Landing, autumn gales carried scents of damp leaves. The city accepted Viserys with a wary coexistence. Markets hawked stag-dragon copper halfpennies. Children traced the sigil on dusty shutters. And gold cloaks no longer found flayed sparrows. Though one morning every fountain in Flea Bottom ran with beetroot dye until midday sun diluted fear into laughter. Robert dismissed the incident as prank. Stannis rode hard to Storm's End muttering of hidden cults. Varys merely smiled. Throughout these seasons of uneasy peace, a quiet miracle unfolded. Viserys grew. Sword practice thickened his wrists. Counsel sharpened his wits, and friendships rooted. Even with dour-faced Eddard Stark, whose calm admonitions became lodestones against court's shifting sands. Not once did Robert raise hand nor voice against him. Instead, the king shared boisterous hunts, taught the prince to judge ale by barley weight, and recounted tales of Harwin Hardstone, the legendary Stormlander who forged a crown of lightning. Viserys listened, laughter blending with wonder, until memories of shipdecks and begging bowls drifted farther out to sea. He might one day love this kingdom. He realized, and fear it too, for the knives that slew dragons once still gleamed in every corridor. In the depths of winter's first frost, as snowflakes, rare as rubies in the south, swirled above the Red Keep's towers, Maester Pycelle carried urgent tidings. Queen Cersei had quickened at last. Some maids swore to hearing her cry out in glee. Others whispered she wept with relief, not joy. Whichever truth held, the realm held breath. At dawn, Cersei summoned Viserys to her chambers. She lay upon silk pillows, cheeks flushed unnatural pink. Her smile, thin as the edge of a dueling dagger, greeted him. "Prince," she said, voice honeyed, "the gods grant blessings in twos." Soon the king shall have sons born of his own line, yet he will never forget his magnanimous heir. I ask only, her eyes glittered, that when my child is born, you stand as godfather, symbolic of course, a bond of blood and fire in the faith's eyes. Viserys sensed a snare, yet to refuse would mark mistrust deeper than any oath. He inclined his head. "I would be honored, your grace." Cersei's fingers brushed her abdomen. "Then let us rejoice. For the sake of the realm." Memso. Robert received news of Cersei's pregnancy like a thunderclap of pure sunrise. He ordered barrels of ale cracked, musicians summoned. Even the bells of Baelor's sept rung until doves scattered skyward. Amid revelry, he clasped Viserys' shoulders. "Dragon or stag, you remain my firstborn in heart." Drunk on hope and wine, he spoke too loudly. "Someday the two of you shall rule side by 7, brothers beneath one crown." The court cheered, though more than one lord exchanged looks that asked how two kings might share a single throne. Viserys smiled, but felt the iron circlet heavier that night. Spring thaw crept across the realm with rumors blooming like bluebells. Some said Tywin Lannister already carved a miniature lion crown for the unborn babe. Others whispered of red priests in distant Volantis, who dreamed of dragons rising anew. In Braavos, an old sell-sale sold secrets to the highest bidder. Tales that Daenerys Targaryen had begun dancing barefoot atop Dragonstone's warm sands, tracing patterns akin to dragon sigils unseen since Aegon's conquest. Sailors carried these tales west, and small folk embellished them over ale fires. The dragon princess would hatch new eggs, they swore, and the skies would blaze again. Within the Red Keep, courtiers tiptoed through a maze where every corridor brimmed with possibilities. 2 heirs now, yet only one throne. Cersei's belly swelled. Viserys' sword arm steadied. Robert laughed louder but slept less. Lord John Arryn spent candle nights poring through rosters of squires whose mothers bore flaxen hair. He penned a letter to Stannis that vanished in Varys' sleeve before ravens flew. When next he took counsel with the king, shadows cupped his eyes like bruises. "There's a rot at the root," he said, voice husked. "I must follow trellises of gold and blood." Robert told him to rest. Ned Stark whispered caution. None knew that across the sea, in the free city of Lys, a spy master named Thistle found a boy with purple eyes and the voice of prophecy, speaking of dual crowns woven of antler and flame, and of blood that would water the stones of King's Landing before summer's end. All tales converge as rivers meet the sea. Yet in that moment, as the sun set behind the red keep and painted ramparts crimson, Viserys Targaryen walked alone upon the battlements. He gazed eastward, where the sky faded to amethyst. Beneath his cloak, the dragon crown pressed upon his brow, equal parts promise and peril. Wind tugged at silver hair. Gulls cried. He closed his eyes and whispered to ghosts of valleys scarred by rebel steel, to whispers of mothers torn apart by war, to memories of a brother slain in water and fire. Let this crown mend what swords sundered, he vowed. Let dragon and stag stand as one. Below, lanterns bloomed along the city's arteries, bright as dragon fire. In their flickering glow, the boy prince felt a heartbeat not wholly his own. A pulse neither Baratheon nor Targaryen, but something new, perhaps stronger for the forging. Whether the realm would cherish or shatter it, lay in hands far beyond his own. For now, the night held its breath, and the joint dragon crown gleamed against the coming dark. Pa! Wind whispered along the high stone terraces of Maegor's Holdfast, stirring the torches that kept the first clawing fingers of spring night at bay. The scent of turned earth and budding lilac drifted upward from the palace gardens, but above that sweetness was another, sharper tang. Iron, oiled leather, fresh ground ink, born of the labors that filled the castle long after bells marked evening prayer. The Red Keep breathed as a restless beast does in the hours before dawn, uneasy without knowing why, sensing pressure building beneath its own skin. Viserys Targaryen felt that pressure too, though the cool air beneath his cloak tried to lull him with promises of calm. In the 6 moons since King Robert's tourney and Cersei's announced quickening, King's Landing had changed its mysteries by half measures, never enough to name aloud yet always enough to unsettle. His swordplay had improved under Ser Barristan's ruthless tutelage, his calves thickened by daily drills. But each new ring of muscle only widened the target his enemies might strike. The court applauded his growth, yet he heard behind their claps the counting of days. How soon until Queen Cersei's babe appeared? How soon until a different royal heir made his crown redundant? Tonight was no training hour, however. Tonight the prince walked to attend Lord Jon Arryn in the Tower of the Hand. He had been summoned by Raven earlier, black-feathered with white speckles. A bird the hand claimed reminded him of snow and moonlight. Come swiftly at 3rd bell. The note read, penned in a hand that trembled more than usual. We must speak without delay. The urgency unsettled Viserys, for Jon Arryn seldom employed drama. The old lord still radiated Vale steel even wrapped in soft maester robes, and he disliked disturbing a pupil's sleep unless necessity ground him. Guards in Baratheon livery stood rigid at the tower stairs. Viserys nodded thanks and took the spiral 2 at a time. A brazier near the landing crackled with seasoned cedar, its blue smoke lit with saffron spark. When the prince rapped upon the painted door, a thin voice bade him enter. The room inside smelled strongly of parchment and camphor oil. Jon Arryn sat behind a writing desk, thin shoulders bowed, blue veins webbing his parchment skin. Papers lay in stacked ridges before him. Genealogies, bank ledgers, trade manifests, yet he studied none. Instead, his pale eyes fixed upon a single scrap, no larger than a lace napkin. The parchment edges were charred, the sigil at its center, a lion mauling a crowned stag. Viserys closed the door and greeted him softly. My Lord Hand. Arryn's reply was a whisper. Forgive the hour, your highness. The wound rots deeper than I'd feared. He tapped the charred scrap. This came by clandestine courier an hour past, folded within a treatise on free city minting. Hidden lines revealed themselves only to vinegar fumes. He passed the parchment across the desk. Viserys lifted the scrap. Between clawing lion and bleeding stag, a single sentence crouched in Myrish cipher. The dragon is but an egg. Crush him before he cracks the shell. No signature was needful. Tywin? Viserys asked, though he knew well enough. Aeron shook his head. Perhaps a shadow cast from his hearth. The Lion of Lannister seldom commits blackmail to parchment, yet his cubs or bannermen grow bold. What concerns is timing. Cersei's babe quickens. Your crown gains weight that cannot be shared. Then too? He coughed, a dry bark that made his ribs rattle. Word on the Street of Sisters says sellswords arrived from the free cities only yesterday, disguised as brave Ossi merchants seeking saffron licenses. The description of their captain fits a Kahoric killer called Silent Harp. He plays no harp. Mind you, only slits throats. Viserys laid the scrap upon the desk, fingertips tingling. You think they come for me? I think they come for chaos, Aeron said. Strike you. Strike the babe in Cersei's womb. Strike any line that secures peaceful succession. The kingdoms would convulse like a horse stung by bees. Some lords would rally to dragon crown in your name, out of habit to Targaryen myth. Others to Robert's seed. Tywin would seize advantage whichever corpse cooled fastest. We must forestall. The prince paced, the old timber groaning beneath his boots. Alert the king, double my guard, arrest every sellsword with ash on their boots. That you must not, Aeron cut in. The moment Robert hears threat, he will roar and brandish hammer. But a roar draws attention, and the sellswords slip away in the tumult, only to strike subtler and surer. We need them revealed, not scattered. Viserys turned mid-stride. Then what do you counsel? Aeron's eyes gleamed, not feverish, but fervent. A decoy. A journey beyond the city walls. Something plausible, routine, but granting this harp the stage he desires. We lure the knife into daylight, edge first. Expose who funds him. He pulled a fresh scroll. 2 days hence you shall ride to Rosby to review their levy quotas. Tedious work fits your apprenticeship, yes? We spread word you travel lightly, few guards, ripe for snatch or stab. In secret, we seed loyal men along the route, Stark bowmen in merchant garb. Aeron spears as tollkeepers, even Sir Barristan in scratched brigandine. Perchance. Then the ghost of a smile quirked the old man's lips. An ambush for the ambushers. Viserys weighed that plan while lamps wickered. Ned Stark's quiet trust came easily. Sir Barristan's sword fell like judgment, but placing them as hidden blades risked exposing them should things sour. Yet if they did nothing. Yes, he said at last. We do it. I will make the ride. Aeron exhaled relief. Good. I shall draft orders at once. What remains is secrecy. None beyond those we trust hear a breath of this. The prince offered a wry bow. My lord, you just made me heir to caution itself. He left the tower by another stair, avoiding guards, heart drumming like hooves upon hollow ground. Ow. The following dawn broke bright and brittle. Clouds torn into pink ribbons on a blue that promised heat before midday. Across the city, small folk stirred pots of oats, bakers slid trays of honey bread into kilns. Gold cloaks stretched stiff arms on rampart posts. Routine noises that masked tensions in visible thread. At stable yards 100 horses stamped, while their handlers muttered at new saddles and unlabeled feed sacks. The prince's retinue, ostensibly slim, readied for Rosby. Lord Eddard Stark approached as Viserys adjusted glove straps near the courtyard gate. Your Highness, he greeted. Voice still mourning gravelly. Maester Pycelle sends tincture for saddle sores. He pressed a small jar into the prince's palm, eyes flicking about the arching portico. Do not open it. Barristan carries the real draft. That jar holds pine tar and crushed juniper. Reek enough to keep wolves at bay. Toss it if you need create confusion. Viserys pocketed the jar, struck by Stark's thoroughness. Thank you, Lord Stark. His gaze swept the courtyard, a dozen mounted guards in Baratheon livery, 2 pack mules hung with scroll chests, 3 master grooms fussing over harness rivets. Everything shouted official errand, nothing whispered trap. Perfect. Sir Barristan, dressed in weathered breastplate whose paint flaked to reveal old dents, rode forward. "My prince, time to mount." The knight's voice carried no hint of familiar deference. Today he wore the persona of Sir Arlen of Tarth, sellsword captain newly hired to guide the royal party. Viserys swung into his bay palfrey, settling deep to hide tremor in his knees. Last evening's bravado felt distant now, replaced by an edged calm. He caught Ned Stark's nod and turned the horse toward the open gate. High above, on a balcony of the Tower of the Hand, Jon Arryn watched, flanked by two of his own armsmen disguised as scribes. He lifted a hand in blessing. The prince angled his head in reply. Then hooves clattered across cobblestones, and the procession slipped into the Street of the Sisters, bound northeast. In truth, only 6 miles separated Rosby from King's Landing, an hour's brisk ride for a lightly armed courier. Yet the royal group took the longer river road, curving through reed beds and low orchards, to allow time for watchers to slink into view. Sun climbed, thrushes chirred in hedgerows, the air smelled of warming mud. Viserys rode flanked by 2 guards and 1 scribe, who was in fact Lord Renly, face clean-shaven, bright eyes hidden under a drab hood. Renly's presence was Arryn's idea. A Baratheon within sword, reach spiked rumor should things fail, but could also claim vantage if they succeeded. "When this is done," Renly murmured beneath his hood, "we should ride on to Duskendale for lemon cakes. The baker there pipes them with thick cream. Sinful." Viserys forced a smile. "If we survive, I'll buy the entire shop." They crossed a stone bridge, spanning a stream swollen by spring thaw. Under its arch, weeds bent lopsided in the current. On the far bank an ox cart lay toppled, axle snapped. A kindly farmer waved imploringly for aid, while oxen lowed in protest. "Ser Barristan?" Ser Arlen raised a gloved hand. "Hold." Viserys' party halted 20 paces from the cart. The knight dismounted, surveyed brush that framed the road in uneven walls. A blue kingfisher burst from reeds, perhaps alarmed, perhaps roused by hidden bodies. Sunlight flashed off something beyond. Metal? Ser Barristan's sword hissed from scabbard. "Ambush!" he barked. "Bolts." "And I'm Dotton." The kindly farmer vanished as a sellsword in patched leather sprang from behind the cart, brandishing hooked mace. 3 more men rose from cattails to loose crossbows. 1 quarrel thumped off Viserys' raised buckler, numbing his arm. Another buried itself in a guard's shoulder before Ned Stark's archers. "Hidden along riverbank," answered, arrows dropping attackers with deadly hiss. Chaos erupted. Horses screaming, oxen thrashing, the pungent stench of fear sweat. Viserys wheeled his palfrey, searching for vantage. A crossbowman charged him. Short sword raised. The prince parried, countering with a slash adapted from Barristan's drills. Edge to muscle, not bone, cutting the man's forearm. Blood sprayed. The sellsword shrieked, dropped blade. A second assailant lunged from Viserys' blind side, but Renly intercepted, stabbing from horseback with surprising finesse. Steel sank beneath collarbone. The man crumpled, gasping. Meanwhile, Barristan met the mace wielder in a whirl of sparks. The old knight's reach, longer, forced the bandit back into cart's broken wheel. He fainted low, then thrust through mailed gut. The bandit fell retching. On the bridge crest, 3 figures in cloaks remained still, studying the skirmish. The center man carried no visible weapon. His hands were bound in black silk cords that dangled like tassels. Even at distance, Viserys felt eyes upon him, cold, measuring, hollow. Barristan shouted, "Prince, with me!" He spurred toward the bridge, trusting Ned's archers to mop stragglers. Viserys followed, pulse hammering. Another bolt whistled, missing by inches. The trio turned to retreat. A woman's cloak slipped, revealing pale hair bound by copper rings. Valerian? No time to wonder. One companion produced a curved dagger and sliced the bound man's cords. Instantly the freed assassin whirled back, drawing twin daggers from wrists, stanza dancerses. Renly's horse galloped up the bank, but its rider faltered at the narrow bridge. Only 2 could charge abreast. Barristan advanced. shield high. The assassin moved with eerie silence. One dagger flicked. Barristan's shield jerked as steel bit rim. Before the knight recovered, the assassin flowed inside guard, slashing low. Barristan pivoted, but hissed as blade scored thigh. Blood darkened worn mail. Viserys dismounted. Sword held two-handed, funneling adrenaline into calm. He crept behind Barristan's stagger. The assassin, sensing two foes, retreated half-step, weight on toes. Viserys glimpsed face painted gray-blue, lips sealed by row of silver studs. That must be silent harp. Indeed. Scars at jaw corners formed curve of harp strings. Renly, having circled, charged from far side, though bridle snagged on cart debris, his spear thrust overshot, tip scraping assassin's leather. The gray killer vault rolled toward Viserys, twin blades whirling. One struck Prince's cuirass with ringing kick, sliding shallow. The other lunged throatward. Viserys parried reflexively, steel crossing. Sparks flew. Momentum nearly ripped sword loose, but Barristan limped in, slamming shield rim across killer's jaw. A tooth flew free. The assassin slashed blind in fury. Renly's spear caught him under ribs, skewering. Blood bubbled. Yet even run through, the man drove dagger into Renly's thigh before Barristan hacked downward, severing spine at shoulder. The assassin sagged, silent as namesake. The woman and third cloak had fled. Ned's archers loosed arrows, but reeds swallowed them. Only a fleeting cry suggested hit. Viserys sank to knee, lungs raw. Sword trembling in grip. Barristan kneeled too, though his wound bled freely. "Are you hurt, my prince?" "I'm breathing," Viserys panted. "You?" Legs scored, not mortal. He tied kerchief tight above cut. Renly limped, hissing curses. Stark guards emerged, binding surviving sellswards. One prisoner spoke Kuhoric dialect. Another, guttural low Valyrian. Evidence, at least, that Esso's gold had paid. Viserys ordered 2 guards to search riverbank for cloakless fugitives. He turned silent Harp's corpse, prying open mouth. Tongue split into fork, tip tattooed black. Mark of the Kuhoric Free Daggers. A contract clan. Inside the killer's tunic, they found vellum envelopes sealed in crimson wax. Lion imprint. Nothing else. Proof enough, though not for Robert's court. Barristan wiped blade on grass. "Word must reach Lord Arryn." Viserys nodded. "We return at once." And the chamber smelled of sweetgrass and burning tallow when they carried news to the hand. Jon Arryn listened stoically, though his fingers trembled more than parchment warranted. Ned Stark stood sentinel nearby. Behind him Renly sat, leg bandaged, face pale but eyes keen. Viserys laid the lion-sealed vellum on the desk. Arryn stared at it as if it seethed poison. "Destroying us would have torn the realm like cloth," the hand murmured. "And almost did," Barristan rasped, perched on stool, thigh cleaned and stitched. Renly coughed a laugh. "At least we bagged their harp." Stark silenced him with a look. "2 fled. We cannot assume threat ended." Arryn reached for quill, then let hand fall. "We must show Robert there is no other path now." "Will the king believe?" Viserys asked. The hand sighed. "Robert loves you as son, yet hates the game around crowns. He'll rage, then demand Tywin's throat. War could follow." Ned Stark shifted. "Or Tywin will present some lesser scapegoat, disclaim knowledge. Without proof of his seal's origin. Robert may stew but not strike." Renly spoke slowly. "Cersei will spin this as defense of her unborn. A mother's desperation." Viserys clenched fist. Desperation signed with lion's paw. Arryn's face, drawn thin, hardened. "Evidence alone may not sway hearts. We need allies before accusation." He lifted parchment from drawer. "An old marriage contract, edges frayed. I had planned to journey north with the king soon, perhaps earlier now. Ned, your sister's boy is nearly man-grown. Robb could wed a Baratheon cousin, forging new bond." Ned's jaw set. "Such knots buy time, not truth." "Time buys truth," Arryn countered. And we run short of both. He rubbed chest as though ache gnawed him. For now, we play careful. Viserys paced. If they targeted me once, they'll strike again. Ned touched the prince's shoulder. Then we keep guard doubled. Sleep behind stark steel. Renly smirked half-heartedly. My brother will grumble. He thinks northerners too grim for court. A grim guard survives, Ned replied. Aaron reached for wine, but his hand fumbled jar. Ned caught it. The hand's skin felt hot. Rest, Stark urged. We'll convene small council at dawn. Viserys watched the old man breathe through clenched teeth. Short gasps. Chest rattling. Jon Arryn, once stone in every storm, now looked powdering. See to him, Maester. Stark ordered a waiting aide. They left the tower as candles guttered low. Endrandau. Days crawled. Snow-kissed wind off the god's eye carried rumors faster than ravens. Sellswords arrested. A prince almost slain. A Kingsguard wounded. Yet official report claimed only highway brigands caught. Robert, off on a 3-day hunt in Cracklaw Point, received watered version from Pycelle. He cursed brigands, promised bigger gallows, and downed half a hog in triumph. Viserys chafed at silence, but trusted Jon Arryn's caution. Until, 4 dawns later, the hand collapsed on marble floor, outside small council chambers, blood-flecking lips. Maester Pycelle pronounced sudden chill on lungs, a worry at his age. Varys whispered of poisons brewed from basilisk blood. Littlefinger bet 10 stags to a Silk Street madam that Arryn would not see the week's end. He did not. On the 6th night, Jon Arryn died, grasping Ned Stark's sleeve, whispering 4 words. The seed is strong. Then his breath fled. Chaos followed. Queen Cersei wept publicly, claimed Jon Arryn as father figure. Robert roared grief, smashed goblets, swore to slay any man who spoke ill of the hand. Pycelle recommended Lord Renly as new hand. Robert scoffed. Stannis arrived from Storm's End, demanded private audience. After which he departed again, eyes darker than storm clouds, refusing to speak of what passed. Viserys, denied voice in council, watched factions form like frost fractals across pond surface. With Arryn gone, his shield felt stripped. Ned Stark lingered, comforting yet alone. On the 7th day after burial, Ned received sealed letter delivered by red-plumed Braavosi courier. He read, blanched, then sought Viserys in Maegor's library. My prince, the letter is from Stannis. He sails for Dragonstone to gather proof of foul lineage. He claims the queen's children are not of Robert's seed. Viserys froze. Not. But Joffrey. Joffrey Tommen, bastards sired by Jaime Lannister, Stannis says. He demands Robert be told at once. The library walls seem to contract. If that reaches Robert with no support, he'll kill Jaime, maybe Cersei, and plunge realm into war. Yes, Ned agreed. But truth must out. Stannis gives names of blacksmith bastards, Baratheon bastards across city. Gendry, Maya, proof of Robert's seed being strong, dark of hair, while Joffrey is fair. Nander. Viserys remembered Jon Arryn's last words. Seed is strong. Gods. The prince sank onto a bench. If Cersei learns Stannis sent proof, she will strike again. Against her brother? Against me? Or all of us, Ned said grimly. Outside, bells tolled matins. Another dawn over Dragonstad Kingdom. Viserys straightened. We must secure Robert's trust before Lannister Gold seals ears. You take proof to the king. I will speak to Renly. Perhaps between us. Footsteps pounded. A gold cloak burst into library. Prince Viserys, Lord Stark. The king. He returns injured from hunt. A boar gored him. The guard's face ran sweat. Maester says bite went deep. Viserys felt chill seep to marrow. How bad? Bad enough they carry him. Ned cursed softly. The game quickens, he said. And we are pieces moved. They followed guard at run. As they crossed courtyard, thunder muttered though sky clear. An omen? or cannons of gods. In the royal bedchamber, King Robert lay grey-faced, belly swathed in blood-soaked linen. Cersei knelt at bedside, tears streaking cheeks. Pycelle hovered, mixing milk of the poppy. Renly stood aside, hands fists white. Robert's heavy lids lifted at their entrance. "Stark," he croaked. "Viserys, come." Voice rasped like sand in wind. They knelt. The king's breath stank of wine and infection. "I was damned fool," he whispered. "Drunk?" "Plo. Pigs are quick, did you know?" He grimaced a smile at his own jest. Viserys clasped calloused hand. Heat radiated. "Rest, your grace," he murmured. Robert's eyes shifted to Stark. "Right. My will. Viserys regent till boy born, God's willing. If I die, throne goes to..." He coughed blood. "To Prince Dragonstag Heir. Realm must stand." Cersei opened mouth, but Robert growled. "Quiet, woman. Later." Ned nodded. "Face iron. I shall draft." Viserys felt tears prick eyes. Unexpected. He had once sworn to hate this man. Now he watched a father bleed. Why do gods forge such cruel circles? Pycelle urged Poppy at Robert's lips. The king swallowed, drifted into stupor. Cersei stood, eyes red but bright. She faced Viserys. "Regent," he said. She whispered, "Do you relish taste?" Viserys met her gaze, saw desperation drowning pride. "I relish only peace," he said. She laughed, soft and broken. "There is no peace left." Renly touched Viserys' sleeve, guiding him from chamber. In the hall, he spoke low. "We must act before Lion does. If Robert dies this night, crowns will fall like axes." Viserys exhaled shakily. "Then we shore them. Call Barristan. Double watch on King's door. Fetch Joffrey, Tom, and Myrcella. Keep them near, and find Stannis' letter. We'll need truth soon." Renly hesitated. "Truth may break kingdom. Lies break faster," Viserys said, recalling whisper of crossbow bolt. They parted, each to tasks. Torches guttered in corridor. Smoking resinous tears. As Viserys hurried toward guard barracks, he heard bells toll again. Dour, deep. Not matins this time, but the 9th. A heartbeat later, he realized they tolled not for prayer, but for warning. The king's condition worsened. From ramparts, night wind carried salt and storm scent from sea. Somewhere beyond city walls, wolves howled. Perhaps real, perhaps only memory of northern snow. And in hidden chambers, a queen sharpened plans. A lion unsheathed claws. A crippled rider named Tyrion dreamt of father's orders. In Dragonstone halls, Stannis lit red candles, while a woman in scarlet watched flames paint prophecy. And a prince born to dragons yet crowned by stags tightened his cloak against chill and walked faster, bearing weight of realm heavy as iron on brow. The game quickened. The night held its breath. And Viserys Targaryen, heir by mercy and target by birth, stepped into gathering storm with sword hand steady and heart uncertain, determined at least that when dawn found King's Landing again, it would find someone striving to keep forged crown from shattering. Oh, Ka. Viserys spent the darkest hour not beneath canopy of silk, but atop the ramparts overlooking Blackwater Bay. Barristan Selmy at his side, both cloaked against whipping wind. Word of Robert's ebbing life pulsed through the keep like heartbeat, ready to fail. Below, flickers of watchfires ringed walls. Beyond, the city's lantern constellation glimmered indifferent. The old knight's sigh broke silence. "When I stood Kingsguard for Aerys, I believed duty simple. Guard the king always. Yet Aerys slew innocents, so I faced choice. Duty to crown or to realm." His eyes, glacial under torch glow, met Viserys. "I chose realm at Trident, surrendering to Robert. Now realm trembles anew. I would ask, my prince, what is your duty?" Viserys answered without rehearsed polish. "To hold realm together until storms pass. If that means placing crown on rightful brow, be it mine or another's, I will. Then? Barristan nodded slowly. Then I stand with you. Just as once I kept blade for your grandsire, later for his usurper, now perhaps for peace neither deserve. Wind gusted, carrying roar of surf. Viserys asked, did my grandsire truly dream of wildfire burning all? He dreamed fear, Barristan said. When fear rules, fire follows. He placed gauntleted hand on Prince's shoulder. Guard your heart from that fire. Behind them, heavy doors clanged. Ned Stark emerged, snow-gray cloak swirling. My prince, he called, voice grave. The king sleeps, but Maester says he may last hours, not days. His will is sealed. He held scroll, ribboned with wax sigil showing stag and dragon entwined. It names you protector of realm until heir comes of age. He did not add, or, until truth unseats all. They both knew. Viserys accepted scroll, weighed its authority. Thank you, Lord Stark. Tomorrow we must gather council. Tomorrow, Ned agreed. He turned to leave, then paused. Do not walk alone, your highness. Night has more daggers than stars. Viserys managed a weary smile. I have friends with blades brighter. Stark nodded once, vanishing through arch. Barristan said, he speaks true. Sleep behind steel tonight, Viserys considered. I will sleep in King's antechamber, under guard. No one enters save you, Stark or Renly. As you command. They descended into keep. As they passed a niche where torch sputtered, Viserys caught faint scent. Burnt cinnamon? He half-turned but saw nothing. Only flicker of shadows sliding. Later, tucked on pallet outside Robert's chamber. Sword nearby, eyes refusing to close, Viserys replayed that cinnamon wisp. Was it simple incense from distant court? Or crimson shadow's perfume? Harbinger of flame. Sleep claimed him, eventually. Fitful, he dreamt of Dragonstone, of a little girl spinning barefoot, arms outstretched, hair silver ribbon. She laughed, calling his name across wind-lashed battlements. Brother. Fly. He tried, but wings weighed iron. When dawn's pale light seeped through shutters, a raven beat frantic at the outer window. Its scroll bore Stannis' seal. As Viserys reached to unfasten the knot, distant bells began again. Slow, endless. He knew before the door behind him opened that King Robert Baratheon was dead. The game quickened, and now it truly began. Aika. The bells tolled until the very stones of King's Landing seemed to vibrate. A slow, sorrowful roll that washed over the city in waves, and returned as low thunder from the cliff walls above Blackwater Bay. Sailors on distant galleys paused work to cross themselves. Street vendors knelt beside overturned carts. Children huddled against doors, unsure why the world sounded as if it were ending. Inside Maegor's holdfast, the clangor pressed on the heart like an iron gauntlet. Courtiers wept openly in corridors already clogged with mourners, and stewards draped black velvet over antlered banners, yet left the joined stag and dragon sigils uncovered, as though afraid to declare which flag truly flew. Viserys Targaryen moved through the gloom with measured steps. The late king's sealed will clutched in gloved hand, 4 Kingsguard knights flanking him in a diamond of white cloaks. His own steps felt muffled, as if cotton filled his boots instead of calfskin, as though the very air thickened between each stride. Robert was dead. Robert, whose laughter had shaken rafters, and whose hammer had shattered Rhaegar's chest, and who had lifted a half-starved exile into promise of a joint throne. The magnitude of that death threatened to swallow thought, yet there was no time to grieve. The realm waited, restless as warhorse at parade. They passed beneath a portcullis, where rivulets of recent rain dripped like tears from rust-black teeth. Beyond lay the throne room, its doors chained since dawn. 2 gold cloaks swung them wide at Sir Barristan's nod. Inside, columns rose in forest of granite, torches throwing wavering halos. At hall's far end, the iron throne hunched, jagged and watchful. In Robert's absence it loomed sinister, not seat of kingly jest, but promise of cut flesh. Most of the small council had gathered. Grand Maester Pycelle in ponderous lavender robes, Padir Baelish gracefully leaning on gilded cane, Varys drifting ghost-like in lavender silk, Renly pacing, jaw tight, Lord Eddard Stark standing still as Winterfell's wee, gray eyes tracking every whisper. Off to one side, Queen Cersei sat in a high-backed chair of dark oak, hair a molten curtain over morning blacks, her children arrayed before her like lacquered chessmen. Joffrey stiff in crimson doublet, Tommen pale, Myrcella clutching kerchief. Viserys halted halfway along the runner of blackadied Myrish carpet. Ser Barristan took one step forward. His Highness, Viserys of houses Targaryen and Baratheon, Prince of Summerhall, protector of the realm. Cersei's gaze grazed him like drawn steel. For a heartbeat nobody bowed. Then Ned Stark stepped out, knelt, palm over heart. Renly followed, though he dipped his head rather than bend knee. Pycelle performed a half curtsy. Varys smiled and folded hands in voluminous sleeves. Littlefinger dipped just enough to satisfy politeness, eyes bright as cut emerald. Queen Cersei remained seated. "My lords," she said, voice smooth, "my grief is boundless. Yet the realm must go on. I will now read the king's final decree." She extended hand to Pycelle. The Grand Maester produced a parchment, but Viserys spoke first, words carrying farther than his courage felt. "Your Grace, Lord Eddard Stark and I bear a testament signed by Robert on his deathbed, sealed by his ring and witnessed by 3 knights of the Kingsguard. It names me regent and protector until the true heir ascends." Gasps rippled. Cersei's eyes narrowed. Handwritten will, or so I've heard. Convenient for a dead king to pen, surrounded by men who oppose his lawful queen. "Ain't shot." Barristan's voice cut frost. "Convenient or no, I witnessed, as did Sir Preston and Sir Eris." Pycelle coughed. "A true testament bears the royal seal pressed into red wax." Viserys unrolled the parchment, revealing seal of stag and dragon entwined. As such." Littlefinger's brow arched. Ned Stark approached, presenting second scroll. Draft of regency powers countersigned by Robert's own hand. The king spelled out every authority. Renly, emboldened, announced, "Let the council acclaim the regent." But Joffrey stepped forward, voice cracking yet loud. "I am the king now. Crown me, and I will pardon any false words spoken in sorrow." His blonde curls glowed halo-like under torchlight. Myrcella's glance wavered between brother and mother, uncertainty drawing her small mouth tight. Cersei rose in one liquid motion. "My son speaks rightly." Robert's line continues through him. "The realm needs no puppet regent raised from exile." Whispers eddied. "Bastard? Seed strong?" Ned Stark's grip whitened on sword pommel, but he held silence. Viserys felt weight of 1,000 eyes. Ser Barristan stepped forward again. The late king made his wish plain. "We dishonor his memory if we ignore." "Wishes penned beneath poppy haze," Cersei retorted. "What sober king yields rule of his own flesh to a foreign prince?" Littlefinger smiled sly. "Perhaps the prudent course is to deliberate. A regency council could." Varys cleared throat. "Chaos would not serve, my lords. Small folk grow frightful when thrones stand empty." "Man?" Cersei swept aside cloak, revealing bundled infant clothes upon belt, emblems of her pregnancy. "Soon another of Robert's true issue will join us. Why thrust realm into dragon's jaws when lion and stag suffice?" Viserys inhaled, steady. "The king trusted I would shield his children." He looked at Joffrey, remembering boy's scorn, yet he inclined head. "I swear no ill toward you, prince, nor toward Queen Cersei. But the will stands until a great council says otherwise." "Then," Pycelle mumbled. "A great council could take months." Littlefinger flicked dust from sleeve. "And in months Sellswords gather. Winter creeps." Renly spoke. "Let the will be honored. Joffrey remains heir. The prince, now regent, guards throne until coronation." Cersei's eyes flashed. "You forget, dear brother, regents break thrones while claiming to guard them." Ned Stark's deep voice quieted Hall. "I stood by Robert, through war and in peace. This parchment is true. Any who gainsay break faith with king's last breath. He leveled gaze on Pycelle, Varys, Baelish. Tension coiled. Then Sir Barristan kneeled to Viserys. Sword laid flat across palms. Your Grace, command me. Sir Preston and Sir Aerys followed. 3 snow-white cloaks on stone. Varys sank to one knee, silky robe pooling. Pycelle wheezed, knuckles creaking as he bent. Renly offered a wry half-bow. Littlefinger mirrored him, lips pursed. Only Cersei and her children remained upright, though Tommen hesitantly moved as if to kneel before Mother's hand clamped shoulder. Silence swelled until crack of torch resin popped. Cersei nodded, mask settling over face. Very well, Prince Regent. The crown will obey your guardianship, for now. She turned on heel, golden skirts swirling. Come, Joffrey. She strode from hall, entourage trailing. Viserys released breath he had not known he held. Barristan rose, murmuring, "First battle won. First skirmish." Littlefinger corrected behind a smile. Queens seldom retreat without plan. Ned Stark clapped Viserys' shoulder. "You did well. Now comes harder work." Viserys looked toward doors through which Cersei vanished. Somewhere beyond, hinges squealed, echoes like hidden laughter. He shivered. Harder work indeed. That afternoon, ravens flew from the rookery bearing proclamations stamped with dual seal. Robert Baratheon's death. Viserys Targaryen, Prince of Summerhall, declared regent and protector until coronation of King Joffrey Baratheon. Across 7 kingdoms, banners dipped, lords muttered, maesters penned ledger entries of shifting winds. At Highgarden, Mace Tyrell convened council with Olenna over sugared lemon cakes. In Pike, Balon Greyjoy sharpened rust-brown dagger. At Riverrun, Hoster Tully wept softly while reading letter to bedridden body. And in distant Dorne, Prince Doran sat long in water gardens, gaze on still pools where carved stone dragons and stags now shared reflect. Within the Red Keep, the regent's first decrees focused on calm. Food price freezes to hinder profiteers. Triple patrols through Flea Bottom. A royal purse of 10,000 stags for widows of guards slain during hunt escort. Ned Stark assumed post of hand, fulfilling Robert's appointment weeks prior. Yet he refused lavish chambers, preferring small suite near Godswood. Renly accepted role as master of laws, promising to soften edges of winter. Littlefinger remained master of coin by necessity. No man better understood the capital's crooked arteries of gold. Varys floated, offering whispers. The iron machinery creaked, but held. Viserys spent dawns in solar poring over ledgers, midday hours in yard keeping sword hands sharp, and nights reading histories Jon Arryn left annotated. Sleep arrived fitfully. He dreamed of iron crowns splitting beneath dragonfire, of Joffrey's sneer warping into muzzle of lion, of Daenerys weeping on a beach of black glass while red comet arced overhead. He woke sweating, each time reminding himself the comet was years in future, if ever. 3 days following Regency decree, a courier with Storm's End colors arrived. Stannis' letter demanded, "Crown Joffrey, a bastard of incest. Prove lineage or step aside." He included list of 8 dark-haired bastards sired by Robert. Stark delivered copies to Viserys and Renly at council meetings scant minutes before Cersei's arrival. The queen read only first line before shredding parchment. "Lies," Renly remarked. Lord Stannis seldom jests. Pycelle sniffed. Stannis' zeal outruns fact. Viserys weighed words. "Until we examine claim, we do nothing rash." He eyed Cersei. "For good of realm, let Maester Qyburn examine the children's lineage." A diplomatic suggestion. Qyburn was known to Lannisters, yet not beholden to them alone. Cersei's lips curled. "Nobody touches my children with leech or lancet." She rose, signaling session done. Tommen and Myrcella followed. Joffrey lingered a moment, storm-gold gaze locking onto Viserys, with hatred older than his years. When they left, Littlefinger exhaled softly. "You offer blood test." she sees threat. His smile widened. Delicious tension. Ned Stark. Stop smirking, Petter. If proof exists, we must show Roberts will choose his rightful heir. Gendry perhaps, or another. His voice laced despair. Viserys massaged a brow. We also risk civil war. He looked at Renly. Your claim stands too, as youngest Baratheon son. Renly laughed dryly. Not while golden lions roam halls. Tywin shapes moves from Casterly Rock. Remember, Lannister debts keep crown afloat. Without his gold the city starves. Littlefinger tapped ledger. Perhaps we refinance through Iron Bank. Perhaps, Viserys agreed, though dread stirred. Iron Bank favored swords as collateral. That night he met Barristan on courtyard balcony, overlooking Blackwater. The old knight spoke in low rumble. If Stannis presses bastardy, war looms. I have served 4 kings. I will not serve war again unless hope glimmers. Then? Hope must be forged, Viserys answered. Then forge swift, Barristan said. Lion's claws lengthen. War's scent arrived as rumor. One dusk, a wine cellar from Riverrun told gateguards of Lannister levies, mustering at Golden Tooth. Next morning, pigeons carried news of Stannis arming the galleys at Dragonstone. On same tide, Dornish merchant ship slipped into port, flying peace banner. Yet her captain whispered of Myrish sell sails hired by Tyrell emissaries. The realm's skin prickled. Viserys felt each rumor like splinter and crown. At council, he announced a grand funeral procession. Robert Baratheon would lie in state one moon turn, then sail upriver for burial at Storm's End, in crypt of his ancestors. A pageant of unity, he claimed, a buffer of time. Cersei, ironically, agreed, eager to display lion cubs before crowds of weeping smallfolk. But that meant holding capital in fragile peace for weeks. Viserys tasked Goldcloak's commander Janos Slynt with strict curfew. He sent ravens to Old Town for maesters versed in bloodlines, offering generous stipend to verify genealogy claims, and he invited the High Septon to hold daily prayer vigils, hoping faith might soothe restless hearts. Yet unease grew. One evening, as lanterns under Traitors' Walk flickered, a riot erupted at Bread Market. Price had doubled after Tyrell caravans were rumored to hold flour back. Crowds surged. Stalls overturned. 4 Goldcloaks were beaten before reinforcements arrived. In aftermath, rumor spread of Lannister men disguised as beggars instigating anger to undermine Regent's Price edict. Viserys rode next morning through Charred Market, flanked by Ned and Renly. Ash clung to his boots. Citizens stared, some bowing, others spitting curses. He dismounted, approached oldest crone among them, face wrinkled like leather bag, and pressed Silver Stag into her palm. The crown failed you. It will not again. The woman blinked watery eyes but managed to whisper, feed us. Dragon Prince. He promised grain barges from the Reach. As they rode back, Renly said, small folk love bread more than banners. Win them, you win war. That night, Baelish proposed cunning. Seize Myrish spice ships at port, auction cargo to fund grain. Viserys hesitated. Siegera threatened neutrality of Myr. But famine bred revolt. He approved limited levy, sparing essential diplomatic vessels. Littlefinger bowed, smile thin as quill. In fast succession, 3 other crises struck. Greyjoy Reavers riding fingers, plague of red pox in Goldtown, and within Red Keep, the Queen's babe turned breach, maesters fearful. Cersei's anguish burst into rage at council. She accused Regent's stress of harming unborn. Viserys swallowed guilt. He had never wished that child ill, any more than he once wished himself orphaned. But the gods written tragedies in living flesh. Weeks marched. Funeral day dawned with copper sky. Thousands lined streets. Black banners snapped. Oil lamps burned fragrant cedar. Robert's body, armored in gilded breastplate, lay on carved oaken bier drawn by 8 white horses. Behind, Cersei rode in golden carriage draped in sable. Joffrey marched in front rank of honor guard. Tommen held Myrcella's hand. Viserys, dressed in black velvet with dragon crown subdued beneath mourning cowl, walked beside Ned Stark and Renly. Barristan led Kingsguard in white enamel armor. The slow procession wound from Red Keep, down Aegon's High Hill, across Great Sept Plaza where pewter bells rang counterpoint, through Fishmonger's Square where nets hung limp, and on to Stone Quay where royal barge waited. Sails died midnight. Priests sprinkled holy water. Septa scattered crushed roses. Small folk bowed heads, but some raised fists yelling, "Bread for boys who died." Others chanted, "Baratheon." A few cried, "Dragon." Discordant chorus. On quay, Cersei offered Viserys' curt nod before boarding barge with children and coffin. The regent remained ashore per plan. He must guard capital. As barge cast off, horns sounded. In distance, thunderheads built above Stormland's horizon. Viserys watched vessel vanish into silver haze. He regretted no tears. They would not come. He turned to Ned. "We must move swiftly now. Send riders to gather bastards quietly. Place them safe." Stark agreed. That night, ravens home from the Eyrie arrived with wax of Arryn falcon. Lord Robert Arryn, now Boy Lord, recognized regent, offered Eyrie as refuge should war erupt. Viserys smiled at Jon Arryn's legacy, yet refused to dream of mountain safety. 5 days later, Lady Lysa Arryn wrote second letter. Rumors of Lannister assassins ascending Eastern Road. Viserys dispatched double guard on river crossings. Gold cloaks grumbled at stretched lines. City garrison thinned. Meanwhile, Stannis' fleet massed at mouth of Blackwater. Sails plain but hulls bristling. Raven from Stannis demanded again, "Denounce bastards. Join me to cast out incest or face fire." Viserys hesitated. He needed proof before choosing. Proof, however, found him. One oppressive evening, Ned Stark returned from Smithy District carrying hammered helm shaped like bull's head. The boy who works here, Gendry, favored Robert's features. Black hair, blue eyes. Same jaw. He showed letter from Tabo Mott, verifying mother's memory. A king disguised once paid gold for newborn's care. Mott described birthmark high on boy's thigh, identical to Robert's. Stark concluded, "Robert's blood is strong." Viserys stared at helm, coal dust still clinging. "Gendry may sway small folk, but to lords kneel to force," Ned said. "If Gendry stands under dragon crown, he needs your own backing to ascend." Viserys closed eyes, picturing realm where blacksmith bastard wears crown, silver prince stands guard. Not Mad King's dream, but maybe realm's salvation. Before decision set, crisis erupted. Word came by breathless squire. Eddard Stark arrested at Queen's command. The Hand had attempted to seize Joffrey in royal apartments, presenting Robert's bastards as reason. Cersei's lion guards intervened, claiming treason. Littlefinger's gold cloaks turned cloaks. Stark's men cut down. Ned shackled. In one stroke, Regent's right arm severed. Viserys reeled. Barristan stormed into Solar. Sword drawn, demanding immediate confrontation. Renly burst behind him, face white. Littlefinger betrayed us. Gold cloaks now follow Janos Slynt, beholden to lion coin. "We have less than 50 loyal men inside keep." A crash sounded as window shutter banged. Varys stepped from shadow like wisp. "Leave now, Prince. Cersei's men come for you. She means to crown Joffrey by decree tonight." "Robert's will," Viserys began. "Burned," Varys said. Tywin's riders galloped from west, with 5,000 spears. Barristan growled. "Then we cut our way free." Renly shook head. "I sent Loras for Storm's End this dawn. Perhaps he rallies reach, but we must flee to Dragonstone, join Stannis or to Highgarden any port." Viserys' mind spun. Stannis wanted bastard proof. Renly claimed crown too. Tywin marched, Ned Stark imprisoned, small folk hungry, Daenerys far beyond sea. All paths led to blood. He straightened, voice low. Gather those still loyal. Sell me, Grell, Willa, my squire. We leave by postern through Godswood. To Varys, provide tunnel path you gave Robert once. Varys bowed. Already prepared, my prince. Renly clasped arms. I ride with you. Lord Tyrell will welcome. Barristan sheathed sword. I will defend until gate. No, Viserys ordered. You, come. Your blade needed beyond walls. The knight inclined head. Minutes later, disguised in rough cloaks, they slipped through corridor lit only by flickering votives. Echoes of boots behind forced hurried pace. At junction, 2 gold cloaks blocked way. Barristan moved like wind. Cross-cut, parry, thrust. Both guards down before alarm. They dragged bodies aside. Varys led into hidden stair, twisting deep under keep. Torchlight revealed inscriptions, Valyrian glyphs of dragons. Crawling through narrow shaft, they emerged in dank passage beneath Sept's stable. Renly's horse awaited, along with 3 more. Varys claimed stable boys had been paid. The eunuch pressed small parchment into Viserys' hand. For when you reach safe harbor. Names of allies yet silent. Viserys thanked him, then swung astride chestnut destrier. Barristan joined, Renly behind. Rain whispered outside, masking hoofbeats. They rode into night, past walls where lion banners now fluttered, through mud alleys where small folk cowered, past burned bread market, and out gate of the gods before portcullis lowered. No horns sounded. Varys' quiet arranged shift change. Beyond city lights, storm clouds churned. Road south toward Rosby stretched empty, save for puddles reflecting moon slices. They galloped until dawn bled pale, hooves throwing spray. At Rosby's stray farmstead they paused to water horses. Renly cursed under breath. Cersei will name us traitors. Viserys gazed east, where sunrise painted sea pale gold. Then we prove her such first. They discussed path. South along Rosa Road to reach, to muster Tyrell and Tarley, or east to Duskendale, then ship to Dragonstone, seeking Stannis' fleet. Barristan advised caution. Stannis rails against incest but may not accept a dragon regent. Renly countered. Tyrell's hunger for flowers on Iron Throne, they'll back whichever bloom promises light. Viserys considered parchment of names. He unfolded. Among ciphered script, one phrase plain. The storm and the flowers seek root in dragonfire. Cryptic. He made decision. We ride west for Kingswood, circle through Bitterbridge, reach Highgarden. Renly will claim crown, I will mediate. If we forge Stag Rose, Dragon Alliance, Tywin's might splits, Stannis thinks twice, and small folk eat. He looked at Barristan. Will you follow? The knight's smile was thin but firm. Where realm's hope lies, I follow. Renly clasped gauntlet. Then to Highgarden. They mounted again. Sky now brightening but thunderheads followed. Viserys breathed deep, tasted salt and pollen, iron and storm. Behind, King's Landing flickered on horizon like dying ember. Ahead, road unrolled beneath pounding hooves. A path uncertain, but his to carve. He urged horse to canter, cloak snapping. In his mind he saw crowns, stag's antlers, dragon's wings, roses' petals, spinning like coins tossed by fate. Too many edges cut, yet maybe edges could interlock, forging shield against chaos. Above, first drops of rain fell, cool kisses on heated brow. He let them wash grime, stoke resolve. 5,000 words of night and flight passed behind. 5,000 more waited before dawn would know their names.